I'll be narrating a few Baba stories which have become like a gospel for me. And I shall begin with Baba's monthly member, Aga Baidul, one of the best musk hunters Baba ever had. This story commences in the very early years when Aga Baidul first came to Baba. Aga Baidul and his brother started a small tea shop. I'm not very sure of the location, either in Bombay or Pune. And then Aga Baidul would be running that shop, and once in a while Baba would call Aga Baidul to Meherabad for his own personal work. As time went by, Baba's demand on Aga Baidul became more and more, and Aga Baidul could not pay enough attention to that tea shop, and it was more or less now left in the hands of his brother. However, Baidul left his son in that shop to assist his uncle with the work. Aga Baidul's brother was a bit short-tempered gentleman and could flare up for no excuse at all. One day it so happened that the young son of Baidul might have irritated him beyond a certain limit or something, and this brother of Baidul gave a very tight slap to the son. No real harm was intended, but unfortunately for the child, he fell off the steps of the shop and fell in such a manner that his neck broke, and death was instantaneous. News eventually reached Meherabad. Those days we didn't have phones or anything like that. It took a couple of hours or a day or two before Baba and Baidul became aware of this fact. Baba remained very solemn for a few hours, and then he called Baidul in his presence. And he says to Baidul, there are two alternatives to this incident. One is your way, and that is to drag your brother to court. The other is my way. Now it is up to you to decide which way you would like to follow. And be rest assured, I shall be 100% behind you. And Aga Baidul said to Baba, I shall follow your orders only, Baba. And Baba says, make sure of this. It may not be to your liking. And yet Baidul repeated and reaffirmed that he would follow Baba's orders. And Baba says, well, my way is a bit different. Now I want you to go to Pune, meet your brother, bow down to him and ask him to forgive you because his son irritated you so much. Just bow down to him, convey this message, and you must come back to Meherabad. And Aga Baidul, that very great disciple of Baba, one of his closest monthly members, went to Pune and did exactly that. He fell at the feet of his brother, the very brother who was the cause of his son's death, and conveyed the message that I ask you to forgive my child for any irritation he might have caused you. And that is all. And he came back. It is such a beautiful story. It shows the depth and the intensity of Baba's manli and the love for him. And from this we can gauge the infinitude of the Master himself. Jai Baba. Jai Baba. This is another story that appealed to me very much. I got it from Baba's another close monthly member, Aloba. His real name is Ali Akbar. And in the early years when Baba started his Babajan school, there was yet another Iranian student by the name of Asfandyar Vaishali. Asfandyar Vaishali remained in that school till the age of 12 to 14. And then his parents took him back to Iran after his education was complete at that blessed school. And since then, Asfandyar Vaishali, for one reason or the other, lost entire contact with beloved Baba. Till in the year 1962, he got a circular saying that Baba was calling for an East-West gathering and he would like his lovers from all over the world to come and have his darshan. And this suddenly triggered off something in Asfandyar Vaishali, and he felt that it was time that he should go for Baba's darshan. Asfandyar Vaishali by profession was a small farmer. He owned a very small orchard. And financially and economically he was not that strong to make an entire trip to India and back. He explained his difficulties to Ali Akbar in a letter saying, this is the case. An intense urge has come into me for beloved Baba's darshan, but financially I am being handicapped by it. Aloba, when he received the letter, looked for a good opening and an opportunity to read this letter before Baba. And sure enough, that chance came. And Aloba read this letter to beloved Baba. And beloved Baba heard it very intently, and very casually he said to him, convey this message to Asfandyar Vaishali, that beloved Baba wants you to go to each and every tree in your orchard and read out this letter to the trees. That, O trees, bear enough fruit so that from the sale of your produce, I, Asfandyar Vaishali, could go to India and have Baba's darshan and come back to my hometown. For a moment, Ali Akbar Aloba thought that Baba was pulling his legs. But long years of stay with beloved Baba had made him a wise man. He kept his mouth shut and conveyed this message to Asfandyar Irani by a letter. On the other end of this episode, Asfandyar Irani, Vaishali, was as great a lover of Baba as Aloba. And he literally took this letter as an order of Baba, and next morning he goes to each and every tree in his orchard and reads out the message. O trees, bear enough produce, so that from the sale thereof I could go to India and have beloved Baba's darshan. And pretty soon, each and every tree in Asfandyar Vaishali's orchard bore so much fruit that they literally bent at the weight of it. As if that was not enough of Baba's grace, there was an intense frost all around that area, and all other farmers suffered very badly. With the result that one worry of Asfandyar Vaishali, the competition of this trade, was entirely removed. And he had truckloads of fruit, which he managed to sell in the local market, and as is Baba's ways of working, earned just enough money for his air passage, the local travel tax for Iran government. He went to Baba, had his darshan, had a lovely time with him, and came back to his country. Jai Baba. Another incident that I remember is in Meherabad. Many of us Baba lovers who are fortunate to have been in his presence. We were fortunate, but not as fortunate as Arjun, who was given an opportunity to see the universal form. But this much I can assure you, that beloved Baba did not show us his universal form, but he really showed us how this universal form acts and reacts in its creation. One morning I was sitting in Meherabad at Baba's feet with the local Manli there, and Baba was attending to some project of his own. And when Baba decides on a project or anything like that, he pays minute attention to each and every detail of that project. And we are sitting at Baba's feet. Baba was in the chair in the Manli hall. Many of you have seen that chair also. And Mani was standing, Baba's sister Mani was standing to the right of them. And Baba is deeply engrossed, chatting to Mani, making arrangements for whatever that project was. I don't remember that project, unfortunately. And this was about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, which is the mail time. Those days there was no car or mopeds or things like that. The young boy was kept for taking the mail to Ahmednagar and bringing it back, and he would ride his bicycle for doing that. And the mailman came. All the letters accumulated for that day from Airach, Mani, they were all dropped in that mail bag for the man to carry. This mailman was standing by the door of the Manli hall. Suddenly Ghaver comes rushing out and drops 2 or 3 letters which he had forgotten to hand over to the mailman. There was no noise made by the dropping of the letters in that mailbox. And yet Baba suddenly turns around, snaps his finger at Ghaver and says, "What did you drop in the mailbox?" And Ghaver said, "Baba, there were a few letters which I had forgotten to hand over to the mailman. I just gave it to him." Baba says, "Okay, now don't disturb me, please go." This is one of the incidents. Another one I remember is in the year 1954. Baba gave a savas at Meherabad, and I was fortunate enough to be present for that savas. I just come home on leave. As you might remember, day before yesterday I narrated incidences from 1954. And on one occasion, Baba was giving out the messages, and that message was being read in English and then 3 other vernacular languages of India, Gujarati, Marathi and the South Indian language. And Kutum Shastri, the very first chairman of Baba's trust, was reading out the message in his Telugu language. And I was sitting way back in that audience, and suddenly a thought flashed in my mind that I am absolutely sure that Baba in his school and college days had never studied Telugu. And here is this man, Kutum Shastri, rambling away. Does Baba understand what this man is saying? Or is this man just rambling away at his own leisure like? As this thought flashed in my mind, Baba snapped his fingers to draw Kutum Shastri's attention. And he says to Kutum Shastri, you should be using this word instead of that word. That would be more appropriate. As if he had a full command of that language. And that was enough answer for me. This is the story of secretary of our Pune center, Ramakrishna. Once in a good mood he narrated this incident of his own life. Ramakrishna used to work in the ammunition factory in Pune, and he was spiritually inclined and in search of masters. In that particular lifespan of his, he had met enough of them, and yet he was not really drawn to any one of them. When one day 2 or 3 of his friends came and said, a Zoroastrian master has come to Pune, and people hail him as to be the highest of the high. Would you like to come for his darshan? Ramakrishna by then was nearly on the verge of disillusionment with these masters, and yet at the same time not wanting to disappoint his friends, he says, yes, I will come along with you. Then the thought flashed in his mind, now I have to go to meet this Zoroastrian master. Naturally I must dress properly, put on a pair of new trousers, and when I go there they'll make me bow down to him, and that will ruin the entire crease of my trousers. That was the worry in his mind. So all the 3 of them troop over to Guru Prasad. It is about 3 or 4 in the afternoon when Baba is giving darshan, and they enter the audience hall, and suddenly 2 hefty Zoroastrians, Erach on one side and Pendu on the other, grab him by his arms and say, don't bow down to Baba. All you are supposed to do is fold your hands in respect and troop out. And that suddenly clicked. And he says, this is my master. And this is in the year 1958. I am at Meherazad, and this one incident again tickled my ego, which it should not. This is the time when God gave me a little bit of a compliment. We are all sitting at his feet enjoying his company, and now it is 12 o'clock. Time for Baba to retire to his room, have his meals, and for the Mandi to have their lunch. And I still remember Baba sitting on his chair on his edge with his hand gripped like this. And suddenly he looks at me and starts asking me questions about my family, my cousins, my brothers. So and so, what does he do? I said, I don't know, Baba. And what about that so and so? I happen to have a lot of cousins. We are a real big family like. And this went on for about 5-10 minutes. And for each and every question of Baba, all I could answer was that I don't know, Baba, what they are doing. Because most of the time I was at sea. And I didn't much care as to what they were up to. And as Baba is asking me all these questions, a thought flashed in my mind. Does it indicate that Baba wants that I should pay more attention to my near and dear ones? And even as I was thinking on these lines, Baba looked at me and he said to me, you don't have the habit of poking your nose where it's not wanted. Always remain like that. Jai. Another story, I think most of you might have already heard it from Brother Erach. But as I said, these are the stories that appeal to me the most. Baba with the group Baba with 4 of his monthly members went to Hamirpur to give his darshan over there. Hamirpur is an area totally devoted to Baba. They literally love him as Lord Krishna come again. And Baba is sitting there in the house of one of his lovers where they were staying with the monthly members. And one morning, Baba saw 4 of his monthly members out there in the fields. This Baba lover owned a huge farm, a huge field. And in this farm and the field, wild berries grow over there. And they are known as boar. We call them boars. They are very sweet berries, delicious to eat. and the 4 Pandit members were plucking these berries. And Baba saw them from a distance. He was relaxing on the veranda, and he clapped and called them over. All the 4 of them stood before Baba, and Baba said, "What were you up to?" And they said, "Nothing, Baba. Since you were not yet come to the audience hall, we just went for a stroll in the field, and we saw these berries growing wild, and we picked a few of them and ate them." And Baba said, "Did you ask the permission of the owner?" And they said, "No, Baba. I mean, it was absolutely unheard of, because this owner himself is a Baba lover." And they said, "No, Baba, we didn't." Then Baba sent one of the chaps to call the owner. And the owner comes up, very happy to be near Baba, till the incident really shocked that man. When the owner came up, Baba stood up with folded hands, and he says, "On behalf of my Mandi, I ask you to forgive me, because without your permission, they plucked berries from your farm and ate them." And this man just couldn't understand what was all of. It just goes to show the intensity of Baba's discipline and his adherence to truth. These are at present all the Baba stories that I can recollect. Now I think I'll start over with some Sufi stories. The first 2 stories which I'm going to narrate, they are a theme of contemplation for various Sufi schools of thought. The first one is by Jalaluddin Rumi, and this pertains to a huge mountain of salt. A huge mountain of salt, in all arrogance and pride, approached the ocean and declared, "Here I am, behold, here I am." But the ocean never said a word to this mountain of salt. It kept on sending waves after waves, and slowly and steadily this mountain of salt began to dissolve in the ocean waters. And after ages and eons had passed by, the ocean asked, "Are you still there?" And slightly weaker came the answer, "I am still here." Again the ocean didn't say anything at all. It kept on sending waves after waves, waves after waves, and more of the salt began to dissolve in the ocean. And again the ocean asked after ages, "Are you still there?" And more weaker came the answer, "Yes, I am still here." And this went on and on and on, till one fine day the entire mountain of salt got dissolved in the ocean. And now the ocean asked, "Are you still there?" And now all the salt in all the oceans, all over the universe, thundered back, "Now I am everywhere, now I am everywhere." Jai Ram. The second story is a theme of contemplation in the Naqshbandi order of the Sufis. A stream flowing, cascading down the mountainside and flowing from various countrysides eventually reached the desert end. And now it wanted to cross this desert also, and it began to flow in the conventional manner, but hardly had it gone a few meters, then the sands of the desert would absorb this water. And the stream felt that it had to cross this desert, but it would fail to understand how it could do it. And a voice was heard coming from the desert, saying, "In a conventional manner you cannot cross this desert. You will have to cross this desert the way the winds cross the desert." And the stream answered, "But the winds blow over you, whereas I have to flow through you." And again the voice came, that is exactly what I intend saying. Surrender yourself to the winds, become a vapor. The winds will carry you across the desert and deposit you to the other end of it. And the stream said that I am afraid of doing so, because I have no guarantee that when I reach the other end of the desert, I will regain my present identity and my form. And the voice said, "We cannot give you any assurance of guarantee. But this much is certain, that this identity, this adherence to your form, is a mistaken identity. You have yet to find out your true identity. And you will have to surrender to the wind. If you don't surrender, you will stagnate and begin to stink." Eventually the stream pondered over it and decided that that was the only alternative. And it surrendered to the wind. And the wind lifted it up. And because this was a very doubting stream, it kept track of the entire voyage, the journey. And when it was deposited to the other end of the desert, and it began to flow again, it realized the true identity that it really had. And now, lo and behold, the surprise of it, a voice was heard coming from the sands that all this while you took me to be your enemy, whereas I am the only link and the continuity which was there right from the mountain top to the ocean bed where you have reached the place. Jai Baba. These are few stories from Lord Buddha's time. There was a Brahmin in India. He was a very poor Brahmin and found it very difficult to maintain his household. And he was praying to God for some help so that he could get over this financial difficulties of his. And sure enough, one night he dreamt that if you go to northern India, a place called Nepal, then you will find one who is known as Gautam Buddha, and this man could help you out. This man took the dream literally, and he went over to Nepal, made his way to Nepal, and after a couple of months he reached that place. And he began to make inquiries as to where a gentleman by the name of Gautam Buddha resides. And he was guided from one forest to another forest, and one fine morning he came across Lord Buddha sitting under a tree. Very politely he approached him and bowed down to him, and he said, and Lord Buddha said, yes, what could I do for you? And this man says to him, I have such and such a dream, that you are the only one who could give me some help for my economic difficulties. And Lord Buddha smiled and said, you can see that I just got this robe on me and the begging bowl. These are the only worldly possessions I have with me. How could I help you in economic matters? I have no money, no wealth at all. And the man realized the truth of that statement, and he says, yes, I can see that. Maybe that dream was a mistake. Then he bowed down to Buddha and he said, I'll take your leave. As he is walking away, Lord Buddha clapped his hands and called him again. And he says, wait. A couple of years back, while I was passing through this area, I found a huge philosopher's stone. It's a mythical stone. You touch any metal, it turns into gold. And Lord Buddha says, I've buried that stone under the tree. You can see it right across. Dig it up, and if it is still there, that stone is all yours. This Brahmin ran to that tree and dug it up, and sure enough, the philosopher's stone was there. And he was most happy, and he was so happy and exuberant with this untold wealth that had come in his hand, that he literally went berserk. And he began to yell and scream and jump, totally lost control over himself. And this went on for over an hour or so, till he was absolutely exhausted. And then he fell at the bank of the river, which was flowing close by, and began to take some rest. And as he was resting, better sense prevailed. And he said to himself, here is a poor man, owning nothing in the world except a robe and a begging bowl. And yet, without blinking his eyelids, he has offered me untold wealth. Surely this man must be in possession of some wealth far greater than this. So he picks up the philosopher's stone, throws it in the river, and goes back to Lord Buddha. And Lord Buddha says, now what's your problem? I already solved it. And Lord Buddha says, and this man says, Lord, if you could offer this untold wealth without the slightest blinking of your eyes, surely you are in possession of wealth far greater than this. Now I have come to seek that wealth. Kindly accept me at your feet. Jai. Now these are some stories of Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad had an uncle by the name of Abu Jahal, and he was totally against Muhammad. He did not believe that Muhammad could be the one he claimed himself to be. And he and a group of his other followers always harassed and persecuted Prophet Muhammad. One day it so happened that a camel merchant came over to Mecca, and he sold 40 camels to this uncle of Muhammad, Abu Jahal. And Abu Jahal took the camels but never paid this man in return. This man, being a stranger in Mecca, he found it very difficult to find some place to rest. He didn't have enough money to go to a hotel or a caravanserai, and he had problems for food and all. He began to approach people with his difficulty, and someone told him that, you see this man sitting by the Kaaba, the stone which the Muslims rever. That is the only man who could help you out. His name is Muhammad. This camel merchant approached Muhammad and he explains to Muhammad his difficulty, that Abu Jahl has taken my camels and is not paying me for them. Muhammad said, come follow me. They both got up and Muhammad took him to the house of Abu Jahl. And now the followers of Abu Jahl are eagerly waiting for the fun of it, that Abu Jahl will surely hammer Muhammad or something like that, insult him and throw him out. And Muhammad knocked at the door and Abu Jahl opened it and he says, yes, what do you want? And Muhammad says to him, have you purchased 40 camels from this man? And Abu Jahl said, yes, I have. And is it true that you are not paid in money for that? And Abu Jahl said, yes, I am not paid. So Muhammad said, immediately go inside, bring the necessary amount, pay this man and let him go. And Abu Jahl, like a bitten cur with his tail behind his two legs, entered the house, brought out the money and gave it to this merchant. And the merchant thanked Prophet Muhammad and left. When Muhammad and this merchant had left the house, the group of followers of Abu Jahl approached him and they said, we were all eagerly waiting for you to insult Muhammad, at least give him a slap or something. You did nothing of the sort, you absolutely obeyed him for every order that he gave you. And Abu Jahl answered his followers that at that precise moment when Muhammad was at my door, I could not disobey anything that he said. And when I heard this story, I had a feeling that at that moment, Muhammad was entirely God and not human. Many of us have a strange conception of this journey towards God. That this journey is full of fanfare, loud proclamations, and grandeur and honor everywhere. In reality, this journey is traversed very quietly and in such a simple manner that many a times the man who traverses this journey himself is not aware that he is on the path. And this is the story of Majud. Majud was a very simple man, a bank clerk in his town, a small government official. And he was working at this post for well over 8 to 9 years. When suddenly one evening at his house, the invisible guy, Khizr, normally is known as the green one because he dresses in a green cloak. The green one approached him and he says to Majud, give up your job after 4 days and then keep walking towards the outskirts of the city and you will be guided. Majud literally took this order and next day morning he goes to the office and he says to the higher officials that in 4 days' time I am retiring from this job. And they were all surprised at this man, very quiet, always conscientious and efficient in his work, and suddenly he wants to retire. But since he was of a very minor ranking, no one was bothered, and a replacement could very easily be found. And on the 4th day, Majud left the job, and he started walking towards the outskirts of the city. As he reached the outskirts of the city, the green one again appeared, and he says to him, jump in the river and you will be helped. So Majud, without a second thought, jumped into the river, and as he's trying to swim, when suddenly a fisherman in his small boat sees him, draws near to him and hauls him up in the boat. And he says, what the hell are you trying to do, commit suicide? Majud didn't answer him anything. Then the fisherman says, don't be disappointed, I'll take you home, I'll teach you the art of fishing and you can earn some livelihood from that. And Majud was very happy to stay with him. And for 6 months he stayed with the fisherman and helped him catch the fish and was of general help to this very loving man. About 6 months later, again the green one approached him and he says, leave the fisherman and keep walking north. You will be guided. Majud started walking again, and early the next morning, he saw a farmer on a horseback. And the farmer asked him, where are you going? And Majud said, I have no idea where I am going. And the farmer said, then come with me. I'll teach you the art of farming, and you could be help to me, and I'll look after you and feed you along. So Majud goes along with the farmer. He's sitting there, helping the farmer, stays with the farmer, and is of any general help to the farmer. And pretty soon he learns a bit of farming and all that. Again, after 6 months to a year, the green one appears and he says, leave this place and now go to the city of Baghdad and there become a merchant for skin merchant. Skin merchant. Selling skin of animals. So Majid goes over to Baghdad and he becomes a skin merchant. And by the grace of God, he prospers and becomes a very rich man. 3 years elapse, and now Majid feels that he has enough money to build a real huge and a beautiful house for himself, and it is high time that he should settle down. So he's planning on next morning to contact some architects and do the needful, when the green one again appears and says, give me all your money, and now for 1 year, beg in this very town. And Majid handed over all his capital, and for 1 year he begged in the town of Baghdad, where he was once himself a prosperous merchant. A year later the green one appeared and he says, now you go to Basra, another place, and you will be guided. And as Majid is on the way to Basra, a merchant approaches him, and the merchant takes him under his shelter, and Majid begins to help him. By the time many years have elapsed, and slowly and steadily, people find that in the presence of Majid, certain strange things happen. Just like we have experienced with beloved Baba. Strange incidences would occur, and people realize that this was not a coincidence, but that Majid had become a man of a certain level on the spiritual path. Eventually he was accepted as an advanced pilgrim, and people and scribes began to write books on him. And they wrote such beautiful accounts of this man that when the book was presented to Majid and he read it, Majid was most happy about all this. And then he turned round to the scribes and said, incidentally, who is this great man whose life you have written about? They have completely missed the mark. They have written something fantastic about him, whereas his life was a very simple affair. Jai. This is another very beautiful story of Jalaluddin Rumi that appealed to me very much. This is in the time of Faridun, a very great emperor of Persia. He was a conqueror as well as a great administrator. And it was known, in his own lifetime, Faridun was addressed as Faridun the Great, none greater than him. Now Faridun had a habit of giving huge banquets. Every time he went on a conquest and came victorious, he would come back to Persepolis and he would hold huge banquets where all the royalties of the kingdom were invited for it. And on one such occasion, when the banquet hall is being made ready for the banquet, a strange individual in very simple dress walks up. Not only does he do that, but he goes straight to the chair, the throne reserved for Faridun, and he occupies this chair. The personality of this man was so powerful that the Grand Vizier did not know what to do about it. But in dress he was a very simple dressed man. And the Grand Vizier decided that I must find out something about him, otherwise Faridun will chop off my head. So he approaches this man and he says, excuse me sir, you are occupying this chair. Could I know who you are? Are you a governor of some state? And this man said, no, sorry, I am above that. And then the Grand Vizier says to him, maybe you are a king of some small kingdom. And again the man answers, no, I am above that also. And the Grand Vizier says, maybe you are an emperor of some small kingdom. He says, no, I am above that also. And now the Grand Vizier has a feeling that he is talking to an idiot. And so he says, maybe you are a prophet. And he says, no, I am above that also. And the Grand Vizier says, then maybe you are God. And this man says, no, I am above that also. And now this Grand Vizier really loses his head. And he says, you are a madman. There is nothing about God. And this man turns to him and says, Grand Vizier, now you know who I really am. I am that nothing which is above God. Could I find that? In the Islamic philosophy it is said that one should bow down to Allah and Allah alone and no one else. So bowing down to any other human being is an act of sacrilege and an act of sin. I'll come to a deep conviction that not only is it not wrong, not sinful, but it is the only way. It is the only reason, the only cause whose gigantic effect is this manifested cosmos. The only reason why I am here is to surrender at His feet. May beloved Baba give us strength to do